Another question here says, from the landlord's perspective, can I kick a tenant out if I find out that the tenants live like slobs and are destroying the property?
Yes.
That's a simple answer.
But what you want to do as a landlord, just like with a tenant, check your lease, because frequently for that type of a lease violation, not maintaining the property on the tenant side, you're going to want to see if, as a landlord, you're required to give a cease and desist notice, or whether you're required to give the tenant a right to cure. And in one of our previous segments, we talked about the eviction process a little bit, and that that the first 5-day notice can be waived. But if you have, as a landlord, a provision that adds these additional protections, that isn't waived. That's considered a separate additional notice protection. So check it out. If it's in there, do your due diligence, give the notice first, and then if the tenants don't correct it, you know.
Yeah, and just to add to that, if your tenants regularly keep dirty dishes in the sink and they let their dirty laundry pile up, that may not rise to the level.
I wouldn't think so.
But if the place is such a disaster area that it is getting overrun with rats and cockroaches, and everybody in the surrounding area is being overrun with these insects and vermin, and smells emanating from the place, and it's a disaster area, which is in fact doing damage to the structure and causing real problems and becoming a real nuisance. I think now you're getting into the area where it's doing the damage that any landlord, of course, should have every right to evict them.
Does it have to be that extreme, though? What if the landlord sees the direction in which, you know, this situation is headed and wants to go ahead and nip it in the bud? I mean, you know, this question, you know, if the tenants are living like slobs, that could be very subjective, right?
Extremely subjective.
So how do you, I mean, what's the advice there? I mean, does it have to be an extreme case, or is it just the landlord feels very strongly that, you know, the tenants are not taking care of the property the way he or she would like them to?
We see this come up more, I would say, I see it in subsidized housing cases actually more than in the private market, where you may have a landlord that, you know, wants to maintain certain housekeeping standards, and where you're going to really see it a lot is if the landlord lives on the other side. And that's a typical thing in New Orleans. You know, if it's your home too, you're going to feel more strongly about it.
Sure.
And, you know, if you're just talking about a few dirty dishes or some clothes laying around,
or maybe not keeping the grass cut
most
as
judges
often.
are not going to evict for something like that.
Okay.
But and it's going to depend on how many times. If it's a constant problem, though, like you've warned them and you've established your record, the judge may very well say, hey, even though these were more minor items, you keep doing it, and so I'm going to have to evict you.
Okay, all right.